Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. The sun right now, it's very bright, but I'm not going to complain because it's been very dark the last few days. Very depressing. So the sun is out in full force today. So if the lighting is kind of ew in this video, I would like to apologize. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about my February reads, and I read 7 books this month, technically speaking, but one of them I'll talk about at the end. And I don't really know if it's considered a book because it was literally 32 pages. So I read it in like 2 seconds. I didn't know it was that short when I initially picked it, but it's fine. Anyway, okay, so first off, I want to talk to you guys about this app I found. It's called Storygraph. So it's that guy right there. But I thought it was pretty cool because you can type in books at the top and then you can put actively reading, read, all this stuff. And then it keeps track of the books for you. So it gives you like a little pie chart of the different kind of moods that you have. And as you can see, I've read 12 books this year and 3,713 pages so far, which is pretty cool. And then it also gives you a pie chart of how fast, medium, or slow you go through a book, and then a pie chart of more than 300 pages or less than 300 pages, and then whether you have a fiction or a non-fiction. As you can see, mine says all fiction for this year so far, and then it also gives you genres at the bottom too. So I think it's pretty cool. It also gives you most read authors, which right now for this year is Frida McFadden because I think I've read 4 of her books so far. And then it gives you like a little pie chart or a line graph of the number of books and pages you've read. And then all the way at the bottom, it gives you your average book rating, which is pretty cool. So my average book rating is 3.88 stars. So I think it's pretty cool. It's a free app. You can pay for updates if you want. I'm not sure what the paid subscription gets you versus the free subscription, but I don't pay for it. I have the free version and I really like it so far. I think it's pretty cool. And it's fun to see like the amount of books I've read and pages I've read go up. I can't believe I'm already at 12 books for the year. And it's funny because I was actually worried about not reading enough books this month because, as we all know, February is a short month. Today's the 28th day, but I read 7 this month, so I think I'm off to a pretty good start. So let's talk about, we'll do my Audible books first. So the first book I read is called One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose, and I did read one of her books last year on my Kindle, and I think it was called The Perfect Marriage, and I really liked that book, and it was a thriller, like a murder mystery thriller kind of thing, and this one's kind of the same thing. It's more like a Big Little Lies meets The Real Housewives kind of vibe. So it's like that housewife drama, like, you know, that happens amongst each other, but with a murder thrown in and like them trying to, you know, it's like a whodunit kind of. But the characters are Jenny, Olivia, Crystal, and Shannon. So those are the women of Buckhead. And it says, who amongst these women will be clever enough to survive Buckhead and who will wind up dead? They say that friendships can be complex, but no one ever said it could be this deadly. So that's kind of what it is. I rated it 4 stars. It's 318 pages. It was first published in April or August of last year, I believe. So it's less than a year old. It's one of her newer releases. I really liked it. It was pretty fast paced. And there were also some funny parts in it too, which is also nice. So I really liked that one. So the next book I listened to on Audible was The Scarlet Thread by Francine Rivers. I did give it 4.5 stars. It was 462 pages and it was a pretty easy listen. It was narrated by 2 different people and it's told from 2 different viewpoints. So it says, Sierra Madrid's life has just been turned upside down when she discovers the handcrafted quilt and journal of her ancestor, Mary Catherine McMurray, a young woman who is uprooted from her home only to endure the harsh conditions on the Oregon Trail. Though the women are separated by time and circumstance, Sierra discovers that many of the issues they face are remarkably similar, and uncovering Mary Catherine's story may help her write the next chapter of hers. And it was nice listening to, I will say, because you could hear the different, dialect, and you can tell from the way the second person narrated that it was in a different time period, so it's just always interesting to listen to that way. But yes, I did like that one. If you haven't read Francine Rivers, I would recommend her. I am reading another one of her books right now that I just started today. But yeah, so those were my 2 Audible reads for the month. So the next 2 books that I'll be talking about were on my Kindle, and they were both by Frida McFadden, and the first one is Never Lie. And that one I gave 3.5 stars, and it has 286 pages. And it's another kind of thriller, and it says, newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams, but when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace 4 years earlier, a violent winter storm traps them at the estate with no chance of escape until the blizzard comes to an end. In search of a book to keep her entertained until the snow abates, Trisha happens upon a secret room. One that contains audio transcripts from every single patient Dr. Hale has ever interviewed. As Trisha listens to the cassette tape, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to Dr. Hale's mysterious disappearance. Trisha plays the tapes one by one late into the night. With each one, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place, and Dr. Adrian Hale's web of lies slowly unrails. And then Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the horrifying truth. And it was kind of like a whodunit kind of thing, but I did not see, I thought I figured it out, and I did not see the ending coming. So it kind of comes together in the last 3 chapters. You get the whole story. And it's kind of wild. I did not anticipate it at all, and I really liked it. Frida McFadden she's just a great thriller writer, and it's on the shorter side because it's less than 300 pages, but it was still very easy to read. I read it in 2 days. Yeah, and that one came out in September of last year, so again, that's one of her newer reads. But if you haven't read any of her books yet, I would definitely recommend starting with that one or the one I'm about to talk about now, because that one I actually gave 4.5 stars. And that one's called The Perfect Sun. So this one is a little bit longer. It's 373 pages, but again, the way that Frida McFadden writes, they just fly by. It doesn't even feel like it's that many pages. And it says, Erica Cass has a perfect family and a perfect life until the evening when 2 detectives show up at her front door. A high school girl has vanished from Erica's quiet suburban neighborhood. The police suspect the worst, murder, and Erica's teenage son, Liam, was the last person to see the girl alive. Erica has always sensed something dark and disturbed in her seemingly perfect older child. She wants to believe he's innocent, but as the evidence mounts, she can't deny the truth. Liam may have done the unthinkable. Now she must ask herself, how far will she go to protect her son? And honestly, I could not put this book down. I did not expect the twist that she ended up putting in there, and it was just a really good, it was just a really good thriller book. It had everything you would want from a thriller, in my opinion, and like I said, it was super easy to read, super quick, because it was just so interesting to me. And I really liked that one. I think that one might be my favorite Frida McFadden book so far, because she's very good at making you think you have it figured out, and then she turns it out into something that you would have never saw coming, which I really like. So that one I definitely recommend for sure. And then the last one I read on my Kindle is called My Evil Mother by Margaret Atwood, and if you guys don't know, she's the one that wrote The Handmaid's Tale. And I picked this book, and it said a short story, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I thought it was going to be like a novella style. No, it was literally a short story. It was 36 pages, I think. So I read it in less than an hour, because I was just like, oh, it's done already, okay. And it was alright, I guess. I don't really have an opinion on it, because I just feel like it was too short to form an opinion, really. But basically, this girl talks about how her mother's a witch and how she never liked her mother growing up, and people always thought that her mother was crazy, and because you know she was a witch. And it says, life is hard enough for a teenage girl in 1950 suburbia without having a mother who may or may not be a witch, a single mother at that. Sure, she fits in with her starched dresses, string of pearls, and floral aprons. Then there are the hushed and mystical consultations with neighborhood women in distress, the unsavory, mysterious plants in the flower beds, the divine warning to steer clear of a boyfriend whose fate is clearly doomed. But as the daughter of this bewitching homecomer comes of age and her mother's claims become more and more outlandish, she begins to question everything she once took for granted. So like I said, super short read. Came out in April of last year, and I don't really, it was alright, I guess. I don't know, it was too short to give you guys a thorough opinion on, if you ask me. So the next book I read was Watching You by Lisa Jewell, and this was a gift from my best friend. It was one of my Christmas presents. And it says, someone knows what you did. Melville Heights is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Bristol, England. It's not usually the sort of place where people are murdered in their own kitchens, but it is the sort of place where everyone has a secret and prying eyes lurking behind every curtain. Who has been murdered and who would have wanted one of their neighbors dead? Watching You will keep you guessing until the startling revelation on the very last page. And literally, it takes you to the last page to figure out what was going on. I gave this a 3 stars, just because it was a little hard to follow in the beginning. It's 324 pages, but it's told from a handful of different people's point of view. I think it's like four, maybe 5. So it is a little bit hard to follow at first because there's so many different points of view, and you have to like, I found myself like having to re-look at the beginning of the chapter to be like, wait, who's talking again? I can't like, you know, follow it. And usually I like multiple viewpoints, but like I said, this one was just a little bit hard to find, and it was a little boring at first, I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while to get into it, but then at the end it ended up being okay. And I kind of saw the ending coming. Like, if you really pay attention while you're reading, you kind of start putting it together in your head. So the ending didn't surprise me as much as I feel like maybe it would have surprised other people, because I kind of saw it coming. So yeah, it's a thriller, obviously. And it wasn't like my favorite book, but it wasn't like the worst book. So I gave it a 3 stars. And that's my opinion on that one. So the last book for the month is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, and this was my book of the month pick. I've been picking basically just thrillers for my book of the month reads. But this is Julia Bart's debut novel, which I always think it's nice to read. And I gave this 3.75 stars, and there's 309 pages, so it's not too long, it's not too short, it's kind of like that perfect middle ground. But this one is about a writer's retreat, obviously. It says Alex has all but given up on her dreams of becoming a published author when she receives a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Attend an exclusive month-long retreat at the estate of feminist horror writer Rosa Valla. Even the knowledge that Ren, her former best friend and current rival, is attending doesn't dampen her excitement. But when the attendees arrive, Rosa drops a bombshell. They all must complete an entire novel from scratch during the next month, and the author of the best one will receive a life-changing 7-figure publishing deal. Determined to win this seemingly impossible contest, Alex buckles down and tries to ignore the strange happenings at the estate, including Rosa's erratic behavior, Ren's cruel mind games, and the alleged haunting of the mansion itself. When one of the writers vanishes during a snowstorm, Alex realizes that something very sinister is afoot. With the clock running out, she must discover the truth or suffer the same fate. A claustrophobic and propulsive thriller exploring the dark side of female relationships and fame, The Writing Retreat is the unputdownable debut novel from a compelling new talent. So I'm not gonna lie, this book started off pretty slow. I think I was a little more than a third of the way through before I actually started getting into it, and I feel like that's been a theme lately with my book of the month reads. Like, they kind of start off a little bit on the slower side and then they end up getting more interesting. and it's only told from one point of view, which is Alex. And so it's her talking, and then there's also like excerpts from the novel that she's writing at this writer's retreat included in there as well. And I liked it. Like I said, I gave it 3.75 stars because I didn't like how slow it was at the beginning, but I ended up really liking the ending, and it was like once you got through the halfway point, it was basically a lot. I was flying through the pages. It was a lot easier to get through. So I did like the ending, which is why I gave it a 3.75, but the beginning was kind of like meh to me. But if you like thrillers and you like reading new authors, feel free to check this out by Julia Bartz. And that is it, guys. Those are all my book reads for the month. I feel like I have been talking forever and I'm sweating in this hoodie in sunlight right now. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know any of the books that you read this month that you want to talk about. I'm always responding to comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.